This summer, when you're looking for a place to go where law and order is the order of the day, come to Aryan Zona. Aryan Zona, where it's against the law to be an illegal alien. Finally making people without papers really illegal aliens. In beautiful sunny Aryan Zona, if you appear to be an alien, you can sure as shit expect to be pulled over by a big burly white cop who will ask you to prove you are an American. And if you aren't, you'll be thrown in jail for 6 months or fined $500. Not pesos, dollars. In Aryan Zona, you can't hire someone from a vehicle that stops and blocks a street. So in Aryan Zona, you won't be stopping to hire that prostitute like you can in our nation's capital. And don't pick up any hitchhikers. They could be illegal aliens. And if you pick them up, you could be fined $1,000 for each alien you pick up. Imagine, 4 aliens, $4,000. After the cops round up all the illegals, they'll be put on trains and shipped out of Aryan Zona. Of course, all those kids who were born in America won't have mothers and fathers because we want to keep Aryan Zona, well, sunny and dry and white. So if you're looking for Purple Mountain Majesty, large cacti delicious cheese dip without the Mexicans, come to Aryan Zona. Come on down, but don't forget your sufficient proof of citizenship, cause we'll be checking Aryan Zona.
Peace, world majority brothers and sisters. You're now studying ICE Breakonomics. The ever-rightward push within the political debate in Arizona is causing some people to adopt a policy of conciliatory engagement with forces that are uninterested in debate and appeals to morality or logic. Case in point, the Arizona Republic and East Valley Tribune have reported that the so-called East Valley Patriots for American Values will pursue the drafting of their own version of the Utah Compact in Mesa. The Utah Compact, modeled in name after the Mayflower Compact, calls for stronger federal enforcement on migrant worker issues, a focus of law enforcement back on criminal law, and the halt to family separation. One is forced to ask why we would need stronger federal enforcement when the president has deported damn near 400,000 people, continued Bush-era ICE raids against the migrant community, and imposed the full national implementation of secure communities police state reality by 2013. Furthermore, the East Valley Patriots have called for a, quote, more civil conversation on immigration and other issues, and a spirit of collaboration, recognition, and inclusion. However, Russell Pierce himself has labeled the group pro-immigration and said they would, according to the Tribune, destroy the nation. So, we are also forced to ask that if Russell Pierce is drafting legislation behind closed doors with the American Legislative Exchange Council and the Corrections Corporation of America, how is it that the so-called patriots believe that he is about collaboration and inclusion? Pierce collaborates with the unseen hands of privatized prisons and big business. Why would he reduce himself to listening to his supposed constituents from his own city? Guess we'll just have to see how this one turns out. Stuart J. Lawrence from the online zine Counterpunch gives a dreary picture of what could be manipulation of policy towards migrants in 2011. Tellingly, Lawrence maps out options available to the Democratic Party that are strictly at odds with the actual community it affects. The first reflects the emphasis on workplace enforcement by adopting the invasive and Republican Party-inspired E-Verify program of employment eligibility databases and offering down a scaled-down version of the DREAM Act. The other option would be to vie for visa reform so that the government can appear like it's encouraging U.S. competition with China by importing workers that the country actually needs, as opposed to the majority of migratory workers without visas whom, this country don't need. Lastly, the government can just twiddle its thumbs while more raids, deportations, deaths, separation of families, among other atrocities, take place. Lawrence concludes, therefore, the best option for Democrats is for the president to get out in front on immigration as quickly as possible and to forge a modest deal that can steal the GOP's thunder. It won't be the whole enchilada, not even close, but by demonstrating that he's prepared to embrace the concerns of both parties and indeed stand up to his own base, in the short term, Obama may finally win with immigration, ensuring his own re-election, averting a further rightward slide, while setting the stage for an expanded legalization program after 2012. Given the current electoral math, that's probably the best the Democrats can hope for. But what about the people? James King of the Phoenix New Times reported 2 weeks ago that Sheriff Arpaio is using the death of 3 migrants who perished in an irrigation canal in the West Valley to justify the building of several of his now infamous tent cities along the border with Mexico. Joe says, the United States federal government should consider building tent cities across the border, lock up those who enter illegally rather than simply deport them, and be more aggressive in finding and arresting illegals who have managed to make it undetected into the interior of the United States. The situation in Arizona is shaping up to allow fascism to come to be. Fascism is traditionally conceived as a way for the nation to violently repress dissent and terrorize people. However, Arizona-style fascism looks to be on the path for white nationalism totally taking control of the state apparatus and using the government as its vehicle to terrorize. I say this to say that white nationalism has taken on a life of its own and superseded the state itself, taken control of it, and is using it to do its dirty work. Keeping in mind the previous mention of Arpaio's proposed expansion of Tent City, let's look at bills introduced by the so-called Tea Party Senate led by Russell Pierce. House Bill 2179 mandates school districts to take a head count of all students whose U.S. citizenship cannot be proven. If a district does not cooperate, its federal funds can be withheld. If any employee does not cooperate, his or her salary or bonus can be withheld. And misdemeanor criminal charges are punishment for falsifying reports. We can then only imagine what happens to the student and the student's family. HB 2077 states that any federal agency that comes into a county to conduct authorized business shall register its presence with the county sheriff. The sheriff may impose a reasonable fee on the federal agency for completing the registration application. Notwithstanding any other law, a federal agency that registers with the county sheriff shall forward all monies collected as a result of fines, fees, or penalties imposed by the agency on a person, business, or industry within the county to the county sheriff. The sheriff shall immediately forward the monies to the state treasurer for deposit in the state general fund. Arizona is, therefore, above the federal government. Hell, county sheriffs are above the national government and can fine it, in fact. Next, we have Senate Piece 1010, legislation which stipulates the courts shall not look to the legal precepts of other nations or cultures. The courts shall not consider international law. Damn! Arizona is above the national government and it is above international law. That pretty much makes it its own nation, its own country. If these two pieces pass, Arizona will be sovereign from the dictates of any other government. According to itself, of course. SB 1070 and the mantra, doing the job the federal government won't do, seem all the more real now. What people meant was that Arizona would at some point become the federal government. HB 2181 calls for National Guard troops, but high-powered style. If the governor declares that a state of emergency exists for the protection of the lives and property of citizens of this state, resulting from unauthorized international border crossings and the related increase in deaths, crime, and property damage, the governor shall mobilize the National Guard to address the emergency. The civil authorities of a county or municipality requiring aid of the National Guard to quell any riot, insurrection, or other civil disturbance shall submit to the governor a written request for aid, setting forth the particular object to be accomplished and the area affected. Upon receipt of the request, the governor may by proclamation mobilize all or any part of the National Guard or the unorganized militia, and the governor shall designate the adjutant general or an officer of the National Guard to take command of the troops mobilized and to designate the troops to be used. Riots, insurrection, civil disturbance. What on earth could the Arizona legislature possibly see in store for Arizona? What are they preparing for that we don't know about? Could it be the record number of foreclosures that we have achieved in 2010? Or perhaps the highest child poverty rate in the nation along with DC? Maybe dropping 280,000 people from the Access Medicaid program's rolls, which seems likely to happen today. Welcome to Arizona, all, where white folks ain't even safe.